I call this lecture my potpourri lecture, and that's that there are a bunch of smaller topics which are worth talking about that I've just sort of thrown together. And so as companies progress, as you go through it, many people bring up risk. Well, what do we mean by risk exactly, and how should we view it? How do we lead our enterprises? And finally, how do we cash out? So what risk is, it's the potential of a damaging event under uncertainty. And what we mean by that, what kinds of risks are we worried about? Well, there's technology risk. Is the technology actually going to do what you say it does? Financial risk, am I going to get my ROI? Reliability, when it goes out there, is it going to work? And this is actually a big issue for new technology and physical products. Works great in the lab. What happens when it gets out there? Liability. For example, if you ingest something and put it in your body, you're taking a risk. Certain products naturally have more liability than others. Programmatic risk, can I hold schedule? Can I do it within cost? And finally, market risk. Does the market want what my product offers? This is what people focus on. Now, the steps that go into progression of defining risk is first, you have to identify what is the risk. And essentially, what are the events that are going to trigger me IDing that there is risk taking place? I need to qualify it, figure out what the baseline is, how am I going to rate it, and then what are the odds of it happening? Quantifying it. What metrics am I going to follow that's going to tell me what's going on with this risk? How am I going to respond to the situation? And monitoring, controlling it. So in terms of identifying risk, what are the different techniques that you can use? Well, there are input-output diagrams, Monte Carlo, simulation, PERT diagrams, basically coming up with trees to see from beginning to end how is everything related, probability models, the Delphi technique, which involves getting a bunch of experts together and have them build on each other's thoughts without knowing about what other people have written. Expert interviews. Go talk to people who really know about this stuff and find out how bad it is. And fishbone diagrams, which is about cause and effect. Now, in terms of quantifying risk, and this is actually a risk model that we used to use, is what kind of risk is it? So what's the probability of it? What's the magnitude? And that magnitude can be arbitrary in a sense. But the big thing is that it's consistent, like giving it a rating 1 to 10. How big an impact can it have? What's its importance? And how do I want to prioritize it? What's something that I really need to do right now, or something that I can put off till later? And so, to give you an example of quantifying risk, it's what if you can have a fatal event? What if the odds are 1 in a million that it could end up in a fatality? Well, what do companies do? You figure out, well, what's the cost of that? Because that's something that, do you not do it because somebody can potentially die? Well, no, companies move forward. The question is when it happens, how much is it actually going to cost them? How much impact is it going to have on my brand? Everything has risk, and even your ideas have risk. Those working on the subscription service, what if your subscription services give somebody like diarrhea and they have an accident during a meeting? You get sued. The purse organizer, and that's that somebody's coming up with a portable purse that organizes everything inside. Well, what if somebody mixes something else up in that purse and actually shoots somebody with mace? They blame you. You get sued. One of your classmates is working on selling coral. Well, a person cuts himself, he gets infected, they chop the hand off, they blame you. You should have told them that coral was going to be sharp. Another one of your classmates has this idea for making a safe where you could put money away to bin your money out to save for other things. And what if one of your kids are monkeying around, they put their hamster in there, it dies, and poor little Squeaky. Your kid's traumatized, and so they sue you. Someone wants to work on protein bars. But what happens if the protein bars actually make somebody put on weight? And they claim, gee, you didn't tell me I had to exercise while I was taking these things too. So you get sued. And sports app, and this is an idea of having an app, like if you want a pickup game, getting people together. Well, in this particular case, the gang members of MS-13 and Harvard Business School alumni come together, and it doesn't turn out very well. So you get sued. Yes, everything can have risk. So how do I respond to it? The most common response to risk is, how do I mitigate it? Meaning the magnitude of the impact. How do I decrease it as much as possible? Another way of taking care of risk is I avoid it. I decide, look, this is risk we do not want to take on. So we take a different path. Transfer it. Give it to someone else. Insurance is one way of transferring the risk. You put it on the buyer, not on you. That's why there's typically so many caveats on when you purchase something. Another way of transferring is, supposing I'm making a medical product. Well, if that medical product has restrictions, meaning that it's got to be manufactured by a certified person, instead of me worrying about that, I just hire somebody who already does this stuff and is already certified. So I've transferred my risk. And finally, you just accept it. It's part of business. Uber, no matter how well they screen, they're going to hire bad people. And people who are going to commit crimes. And so they take the chance. It's an acceptable part of business. The Pinto, as much as people get on Ford about it, they crunched the numbers and found out that, yeah, it was worthwhile taking the chance, that you just accept that it's part of reality. In the next lecture, I'll start talking about leadership.